Hi all, welcome to this week's stream. I'll be back in a moment, guys. Okay, so we're good to go. Uh, let's see if we can reach 2500 in this stream or not. I have been struggling for quite some time now. But then again, if I don't try, chances are I won't reach 2500. Yeah, let's hope for the best and let's dive into it. So we are playing with white pieces. Oh yeah, this should be simple. By the way, this is our daily puzzle, so it should be simple. Queen h6, pawn h6. This is a forced move. Knight g6, check, and if pawn g6, then I have rook h7. That's mate. However, after queen h6, pawn h6, knight g6, he's got king g7 there, right? Um, hmm, that is interesting. Also, I have to make some active moves here, otherwise rook f2 and my king will be checkmated pretty soon. Yeah. So let's see. Queen h6, pawn h6, knight g6, and then king g7 is the only move. And what if we start with knight g6 directly? Pawn g6, queen h6, pawn h6, and then rook h7 should be made. Yeah, because then there is no king g7 available. I think knight g6 is better here. Awesome. Okay, let's move on to the next puzzle for the stream. Fortunately, we started on a good note. Let's see if we can carry on the spirit. Okay, so we're playing with black pieces here. Um, mhm. So this knight is pinned, although my king's position is not that great. Though my guys, I'll be back in a moment. I got some urgent work here. Okay, so we are playing with black pieces area. Although my opponent is castled, but still his king is a little. I mean, I would say there is some pressure going on here. Let me just reduce the volume of the songs here. Yeah, this is better. Helps me concentrate better. Yeah. Um. Okay. Hmm. So this looks good, right? Knight f4 and the knight on d5 is pinned to the queen on d3. Knight f4. If rook f4, I can proceed with queen h2 check, king f1, and then queen check, king goes to e2. Then I can win the rook on a1. However, I'm not sure if it's enough for this puzzle because my king's position is not that great, you see. But yeah, definitely knight f4 is one of the moves that I am considering here. Because knight f4 also adds some pressure to d5. However, I'm not sure if knight f4, rook f4, queen h2, king f1 and queen h1, followed by king e2, and then capturing on a1 is the trick here. Also, after queen h1, king e2 and queen g2 is available. At which point of time, luckily because of my knight on g4, e3 is not available for the king, right? Um, and rook f2 is also not possible. So after that, he has to go back to the last rank, possibly to e1 or d1, I believe. Yeah. Let's see if there's something else. I think if I don't see any move, I will go for knight f4 with that whole continuity. Let me just double check. Yeah, I don't see any other move here. Yeah. Yeah. Let me go for knight f4 here. And oh wow, now I can also capture on e5 because of queen d5. Sorry, I can capture on d5, queen d5 followed by knight e3 check, and I win the queen. Yeah. The only point is after rook d5, can the black queen check me? I don't see. I mean, okay, rook f1 is there, king f1, but yeah, rook d5 looks real good here because yeah, I can go for king queen h1, king e2, and queen g2, and then the king is kind of forced to go back to last rank. But this is better, I guess. My bad. Is it queen h1? Okay, and then what? I guess queen d rook d5 is a little risky. I see. I have to check back after I go to the I mean, once I go to the analysis board. Um, Now what? How do I proceed? Now I can play c6. I'm not sure. Oh wait, now I can capture here. But what's the problem with rook d5 directly? Oh, I just did not. Wait, what was that? Yeah, what's the problem with rook d5 here? Let's see. I switch on the engine. So after this, rook d5. Yeah, and now there's some pressure on my knight, also on my bishop. Hmm, nice. Got it. Okay, so we're playing with black pieces here. So there is some light square weaknesses around my opponent's king. Fortunately, I have a bishop here. I have my rooks pointing against my opponent's king, which is another good sign that I have to go for some attack. So because my queen is on c5, the pawn on f2 is pinned, right? So what if rook g3 check? If pawn g3, I have got rook g3. However, this is met with queen g3. And then I have lost both of my rooks, right? I see. The other idea could be to play to play against this diagonal and to play something like queen c6, maybe? Queen c6. I'm going for a checkmate on g2, right? How can white respond to that? The first move could be to play g3, sorry, to play f3. But that does not work because queen f3 is still there, right? Also h1 is, so after queen c6, not only queen g2 is a threat, but queen h1 is also a threat. So queen c6 looks real good in this position. Yeah, queen c6. Uh, he has got queen e4, check. But I can capture, rook captures, and bishop captures on e4. So yeah, queen c6 looks real good here. Hmm. Now I can capture the king, but that involves rook. Oh no, wait. If I capture with my rook, my king on g8, rook e8 is not possible. However, queen h6 is possible, which then allows him to go. But even that is not possible because I'm threatening a mate in one, right? Um, so what if I capture with the rook here? Rook e8, queen e4, queen e4, rook e4, bishop e4. Yeah, I'm up a piece here, right? Well, let's play it safe. Oh no, but if I capture with the rook, he has got this rook e7 check. But then I can block it with rook g7. Now I'm a little confused between rook g8 or king g8. I mean, rook g8 is fine, right? I mean, there's no harm in it, but I'm just confused. Is king g8 a good move here? How can black respond to that? Because after king g8, there is no queen e4. That comes with check, I mean. Let's go for king g8. Let's see. Awesome. And now I can capture on d4. Or if I move my queen with a check, that would put my opponent's queen under attack from the bishop on b7, but that is not possible at the moment. So I think yeah, the best move here should be capturing the queen and then the rook. Awesome. Okay, so we're playing with white pieces here. So this is an endgame position. My rook is guarding the h7 pawn, but then the f3 pawn is kind of a nuisance. Maybe not now because my rook is also making sure that my opponent's king on e5 on my bad on d4 doesn't come to protect the pawn on f3. So the idea could be king g3 because I have to make sure that I don't get away. I mean, my king doesn't get away from this square. That could be king g3. I can attack the pawn, right? But rook f8 is there. But then king f2, and then the simple idea is to play rook g7 and then rook g8. Yeah. Yeah, I think this looks good here. And now I can play rook f2 because if, sorry, king f2, because if I play rook g7, f2, and then this pawn cannot be stopped from getting promoted, right? So let's play king f2 here. Wow, is it? Oh, I see. It's rook. What's the move then? Let's see. Okay, but what's the problem with king f2? Yeah, I think the computer is also suggesting one of the lines is king f2. But isn't rook, yeah, g7 winning here? Yeah, now I can just, this should be winning. Oh, it looks like it's a draw. I mean, the engine is saying it's a draw. Okay, let's move on to our next puzzle maybe. So it's an endgame puzzle and we're playing with white pieces here. He has got 4 and 6 pieces pawns. We have got 6 pawns, and I would say I have got a decent pawn structure, and so is my opponent. So has my opponent. Um, so I can, I mean, so if you look at this pawn structure for black, he has got some superior pawn structure, a well-connected pawn structure on the queen side. On the other hand, I also have a decent pawn structure because we have, but I would still say my opponent has a slight advantage because he has got only 2 pawn islands and I've got 3. However, I can break that with bishop e4, pawn e4. And then this e4 pawn is a pass pawn, but also a liability for black, right? But then he has got, after bishop e4, I'm not sure how can I defend king d5 there. Hmm. Now then, so this is also one idea. Bishop e4, pawn e4, a4. If b captures on a4, king c4 and then d5 is defended. However, I have to be aware that I have to be in this square of the pawn. Uh, yeah, or rather I should be focusing on this inner square after the pawn has crossed on e3. However, if king c4, yeah, I do maintain that. So let's say bishop e4, pawn e4, a4. If he pushes for b4, I can still capture on c4. And I make sure king d5 is not possible. However, king f5 is there. But I mean, my opponent also needs to be aware of the fact that this e5 pawn is a passed pawn. So he cannot also leave this big square, or rather he should be focusing on the smaller square as well. Also, this d5 pawn is also a passed pawn at some point of time. The other move is bishop g4 check, but then bishop f5 is always there. Now the other thing to focus here is, because we are having a bishop endgame, that all my pawns are on dark squares, so my opponent's bishop cannot do much. But I, since I have a light square bishop and most of his pawns are on light square, I can do some damage. So it makes sense to maybe retain my bishop. So bishop g4, you will likely with bishop f5, and then it does not make sense because king f5 is there. Bishop e4, pawn e4, and then what? I can play g4 there, because even if he manages to play e3, I have got ample time to play king d2 and something like that. So yeah, bishop e4, pawn e4, g4. I make sure king f5 is not possible, but then he can play king d5, right? Oh, that's tough. I think bishop e4 is the move here. I don't see any other way to move forward with this puzzle. Yeah, and now a4, because this weakens the c4 pawn. Yeah, okay, I can't stop king f5, and I have to immediately play king pawn f4 in order to make sure he does not play king d5, because once he plays king d5, um, then he can just push pawns on the queen side, right? And then this d pawn and the e pawn, they both are stopped there on their tracks. So let's play a4, and now I can capture on c4 to prevent king d5. Awesome. Let's move on to our next puzzle for the stream. Um, okay, so there is some dark square weakness around my king. Fortunately, my king does not have a dark bishop, but this queen is also dangerous in this position. Now, my opponent also has some dark square weaknesses, and he doesn't have a dark square bishop. Now, my idea over here is to simply play queen h6, going for queen g7. However, queen g6 is met with rook g8. You know what? It looks like I have solved this kind of a puzzle in one of my previous streams. Not the exact puzzle, but something on the similar lines. Maybe that's what they call it, pattern recognition in chess. Yeah, it's maybe kicking in. So anyhow, queen h6, and then because my opponent's queen is on a light square, they cannot directly intervene with the idea of queen g7 check mate. So queen h6 forces rook g8, and then I've got rook h3, queen h, or maybe queen h6, rook g8, queen goes to h7 check, king h7, and then rook h3 is mate. I mean, the queen has to intervene, but then that should be a mate. Yeah, let's go for this idea because everything is forced here, right? And now I can capture here, and this should be easy. Awesome. Let's move on to our next puzzle. Um, okay. Mm, so I can capture um on on e5, right? I think let's see. Yeah, I don't have any other move here. But then I can also capture with the pawn here. Now that is what I need to calculate. Is pawn e5 better or king e5? Let's say king e5 because we have equal material right now. I think I will love to capture with the pawn here for the simple reason that if my opponent's king is busy with the g pawn, I can march the e pawn because after capturing with my pawn, it becomes a pass pawn. Right now, I don't have a pass pawn. Yeah. After capturing on e5, I do have a pass pawn. Right? And then I can think about king d4, attacking the c pawn, and then maybe making way for the e pawn. However, if I capture with the king, then this pawn is not that effective because there's c pawn there. So yeah, capturing with the pawn makes sense here. Nice. Okay, so now it's more of a, I mean, this should be, I have to be aware that the c pawn is a pass pawn now. Okay. Now, I mean, I was thinking about king f4, but then he can also make way for his pawn on the c file with king e2. I'm not sure king e2 is right or not, but after king f4, what is c4? Hmm? Mhm. And if I capture on g4, I think c5, and the black, and then let's say, I don't know, let's say king h3, c6, g4, c7, check, and king g1. And then, yeah, the pawn just rolls down the board. So maybe the idea is to go for king d4, king c3, and make way for my e pawn. Also, then I can get to the a pawn in time and make way for my h pawn. Oh, sorry, my a pawn. Yeah. So, and this with king d4, I get the diagonal opposition. But then king f4 is also doing the same. But yeah, for the for the mentioned reasons, I think king coming to d4 looks better here. Is it king f4? Ooh, why? Okay, let's see. Isn't c4 winning here? Oh yeah, wow. This is. Oh, I mean, it's not a concept which I don't know. I should have. Oh, that's so annoying. I mean, I've read this concept in one of the books, but still I cannot put it to practice. That's annoying. Anyhow, we're playing with black pieces here. These two pawns are connected, so they're pretty dangerous. To be honest, I don't think so if I can defend them because if I play rook d8, they have got e7 pushing down the board. So what about capturing on b1 and then let's say e7 and king c2. Let's say they promote either of the pawns. Let's say they promote the d pawn. I capture on d8, pawn d8, and then I queen. The problem is he can then give me some checks and then win my g pawn. Yeah. I have to capture on b1 because these pawns are something I cannot stop. Yeah. The other idea is rook b6, but then d8 promotes. I get the e6 pawn check, and then the king goes to something like f2 maybe. I capture on b1, and then they have got this nice move, queen g8. Yeah. But I can still manage, as in I can still coordinate my pieces. But that's tough. I'm not sure if rook d6. But after rook d6, they're in no hurry to push d8. They can go for e7. Check. What's yeah. Oh, I think king b1 looks better here. In any case, also, in some variations, can we go for this stalemating idea by pushing g6 and then just giving away my rook for some weird position where it's not possible for my king to play? I think that's not possible because I've got ample of squares. However, this is a bishop pawn, right? And but the problem is my opponent's king is closer to the bishop pawn, so in theory this should be good for white after it gets a queen, obviously. Hmm. I think let's go with it. Yeah, okay, I can't really do anything about this. Now, is king c1 better here? King c1, if he let's say promotes. Okay. Now the question is, I've got four options with my king: c1, c2, a1, a2. Yeah. In any way, I would not like to play my king on c1 because that kind of restricts my queen after it promotes to b1. So intuitively, I would not go for king c1. a2 I'm not a fan of because of e8 promotion, rook e8, pawn e8 promotion that comes with check. So with that said, I can go for king a1. Yeah, I can go for that. Let's see. Um, no, I have to capture this, right? There's no other way. Come on, is it promoting the pawn? Wow. No issues. Hmm. Okay, so we are in the end game. So we have some queen side majority. I can go for g4. Oh wait, this idea of h4 followed by g4 looks good here, right? Because if he manages to play c5, that's fine. I have got ample of support to protect the c5 pawn. And what about g4 captures and then h5? I think the pawn. I think the pawns promote on the same time, but I don't want to take that risk. g4 takes hg4. I think the king is already in the square of the pawn. So I think that is not good. Oh no, it looks good because I can go for king c5 there, right? Yeah, I think g4, edge g4, edge g4. Even if let's say the king manages to stop this pawn, I have ample of time to play c5, king, and then mess around the king side, right? Dominate the king side. But let's say g4, c5, king c7. If he further pushes for b6, I can go for king c6, and then yeah, okay, that's fine. I can play g4 here. Why do I see the right moves after I have made a blunder in the puzzle itself? Ah, puzzles in a row. Wow. Anyhow, let's move on to our next puzzle. Um, okay. So I can go for something like pawn f7 check. If king h7, I just promote. If he manages to play g2, um, I think I can simply go for uh, queen f7 check maybe. King h8 and king h6, going for queen h7. Yeah. So after pawn f7, he will likely play king f8, and then maybe I play e6. If he plays g2, I can go for e7 check, pawn e7, and then I get a queen with check, and then I will be able to defend the pawn on g5. Yeah, and now e6. The other move is king f6 because then I'm threatening a mate. But after king f6, he has got king f2, rook f2 check, and then I can go for f3, but then he has got g7 available for his king, right? So king h, rook h does not work after king e6. What about e6? But then he has got king e7 coming into picture, right? Yeah. And then rook h8, g2. I still promote first with check. So yeah, e6 looks good. E6, g2 is bad because of e7. E6, king e7, rook h8, g2, and I promote with check. Now rook h8. Okay, now this check forces a king, and then I just promote. Oh no, you know what? This does not work because king rook e8, king d6, I promote, rook f8, rook f8, and g2, and then e7 maybe does not work because king e7 is always there. Oh, okay. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Rook e8, king d6. Oh yeah, this shit is simple, right? Wait, let me see. King e8, king d6. Rook, sorry, my bad. Rook e8, king d6. I promote. Rook f8, rook f8. If g2, I've got rook d8. Doesn't matter where the king goes, and then rook d1. Yeah, this is simple. Awesome. Okay, so there's a lot of pressure on both the sides. I mean, my opponent's king is also not looking good, but so is my king. I can go for a discovered attack. I can win the pawn, the rook on us on c1, I believe. But let's see. I think the idea is to play bishop g3 check. King G1, Queen H2, check. King F1, Queen H1, King E2, and Queen captures on C1. But the only point is it enough? Yeah. Is there a mate going on? That's my whole idea. The other idea could be to play Bishop F4, which looks a little more, how should I say, interesting. Oh yeah, I think Bishop F4 is better here. Bishop F4, check. The only move is King G1. Then I capture on E3, check. He cannot go to F1. Oh, no, he has to go to F1 and Queen F2 is mate. So yeah, Bishop F4 is the move here. Awesome. Okay, we're playing with white pieces. We are in the end game and it's a knight end game. Wow, this is pretty interesting. We both have a knight pawn. Um, okay. I cannot checkmate him with a knight. I mean, as in if I were to play b7, g7, knight g7 and knight g7. And then, okay, maybe even if I stop this pawn, there's no way to checkmate my opponent, right? Also, knight g3 does not work. Knight g3, g7, knight f5, and then I win the then he wins the black pawn. So maybe the other idea could be to go for something like c3. If he plays, I don't know, like b5, knight g3, and then g7, and there's no knight f5 with the fork. You see, that's the advantage of playing king c3 or king c4. Yeah, but I think king c3 is bad because knight after king c3 he plays b5, g7, knight g3. Oh no, wait, king c3, b5, knight g3, g7. He has knight coming to e4 with check, and then let's say I play something like king b2, then he has got knight f6. Yeah, so maybe I can play king d3 here, because if b5, knight g3, and then g7, and then there is no way to give me a check. I am two squares away from the knight. So yeah, king d3 looks real good here. Wow, is it king c3? What is it? Hmm. It's none of these moves. What is the move here? And what's the idea here? Knight g3, knight g3. Yeah, no, but then what's the problem with something like king d3? Let's see. Oh, I missed a basic fork in the position. Anyhow, it's annoying to be honest, but then again, that's how you learn, I believe. Just as hard. Okay, so we're playing with white pieces here. Hmm. Let's see. Um, mhm. So I'm thinking about queen f7 check, king f7, and then I can utilize this bishop on b3, also this discovered check from the c7 rook. However, so if I play queen f7, king f7, and if I go for something like knight c5, this rook e7 move is something I need to be aware of. Um, Also, my rook on c7 is hit. Yeah, I just didn't see that one. Okay. Hmm. Obviously, if bishop e6 is met with queen e6, yeah, consolidating the position, getting some protection on f7. So yeah, maybe queen f7 looks real good, let's say, but I don't see the follow-up, to be honest. Queen f7, king f7, my bad. Then knight comes to e5. That's a double check. So he has to play king f6 there, right? Hmm. Knight g4. That's another check that black needs to deal with, which forces the king further towards the white territory. If he stays on f file, then rook f7 check, but then he has got king coming to e4. Yeah. And then he can escape, right? Okay. Knight f6, bishop f6, queen f6. The knight cannot capture on c7 because of queen f7 check, king h8. Okay, yeah, the knight defends the rook on d8. Hmm. Hi, Knight in Gaming. Samay fan? Um, I mean, I'm not a fan, but yeah, I watch videos. But yeah, I mean, I know who Samay is. But anyhow, yeah. Um, hey, I don't see the emoji. Rather, I see that some code written on my chat. I'm so sad. I mean, I'm so my bad. I can't do react to that. Good vibes. Oh, thanks. By the way, welcome to the stream. Um, if you haven't already, then do give my channel a shot. I stream every weekend. So anyhow, we are playing with white pieces here. Um, hey, yeah, virtual hug. Sure. This much I can read from the code. Okay, so we're playing with white pieces. I think Queen F7 looks interesting, but I just don't see the follow-up there. King F7. Mm, Knight check. Knight E5 check. King F6. Knight G4. King G5 is also there, right? F4. Knight F4 is there, yeah. Maybe Queen F7 does not work at all. But I have got Knight E5 because now I'm threatening F7 twice. Knight E5. If but the knight e5 is met with queen e5 with check. So yeah, that doesn't work either. Bishop e6, queen e6 is the move, I believe. Knight f6, bishop f6, queen f6, knight c7, queen f7, king h8. And then what? I don't. Oh yeah, but then I've got queen h8. That's mate. Okay, now that's awesome. Knight f6. Now the king can go to h8 as well, but then the rook is falling, and then I also defend the. Yeah, okay, knight f6 should be the move here. And if not anything, I get the rook and I defend the rook on c7. Actually, I don't defend the rook because knight e8, knight c7, knight c7, and then queen e5 is there. Check. And then they win back the material. So maybe that is not the move. Knight e8, knight c7, queen f7 is the idea there. Because even if he manages to go for queen e5, check, g3 should be there. Who you would, okay, I'm a YouTuber who you would never think would raid you. Just work once and it comes. No man, maybe I will not. I mean, again, to each their own, but I won't stoop that low for just few views. My bad. I just want to go for that. To each their own. So yeah, knight. By the way, welcome to the chat. Knight e8, and then the idea is to capture an f7. Yeah. Okay, so my queen is attacked, and f7 is kind of protected. Hmm. I can go for queen a8, right? Because if queen e5, I have got g3, right? Knight f3 is there though, but it's not there because my queen is already on a8. Yeah, so maybe queen. Or the other idea is simply to play knight f6, knight. But then the problem is knight f3 comes with check, because if let's say the idea was to play knight f6 and then just to play my rook on c8, but that does not happen. Uh, okay, so queen a8 is what I'm thinking about, right? And then maybe I can just save everything, right? Queen e5 check, g3, knight f3 is not possible. So yeah, I'm not sure how to go about this. If after queen a8, I don't see how black can respond to it. I mean, okay, we can go for a check or something like. Also, there could be some pressure on f2. I mean, there is already some pressure on f2. So if after queen a8, bishop check maybe, bishop check. G3 is bad because queen f2 is there then, right? Okay, yeah, then I've got queen g2. I still save everything, right? Bishop check. Yeah, I think queen a8 should be the move here. Hmm. Wow, what is this? What's the move then? Simply exchanging the queens. Okay, that's better. Move on to our next puzzle. Oh wow, I reached. I mean, I'm in 20s now. That's. I started with what 2440, I believe, and the stream has been pretty decent in the terms of number of wins and losses, I believe. But I've been. I mean, I guess I've lost more points than I should have gained. Anyhow, let's move on to our next puzzle. Um, so I have this bishop available. So let's see. He has got two rooks. Two rooks. He has got two extra pieces. Wow. No, one extra. Yeah, two extra pieces. Um, and then this bishop is kind of creating some problem for my king. So yeah, let's see. Queen d4, and then I'm threatening queen h8. Oh yeah, king f7 is there, but I just capture the rook on f8 and then the pawn on the bishop on h3. Um, the other idea could be to play queen. Also, there's some pressure on f2. Yeah, so I think queen d4 is a must here. Let's see. There's okay. Let's see. 97 check, king f7, and then queen h5 is there. I think 97 is better here, because the problem is after queen f6 he can go for queen d4, queen f6, and then my opponent can somehow defend his king because his queen is active, his rooks are connected. Yeah, sooner or later he will be able to improve his knight's position, and then this knight bishop on h3 will be a problem for white. That's my that's what I'm afraid of. So knight e7. king f7 is bad because of queen h5. King f6, and then I just capture right here. Knight e7, check. So after that, he can go to g7. Then I capture the bishop maybe with a check. Knight e7, if he goes to h8, queen h5 or h7, queen h5 is there. So yeah, knight e7 is what I think should be the move here. Yeah, and now I can capture with a check. Awesome. Okay, so we're playing with white pieces here. Okay, this should be, I mean, the idea should be pretty easy here because, we can clearly go for some attack on the king side. I mean, there are some Greek sacrifices along the line. But then again, I have to be aware because this queen c6 move can be a little problematic for black because of the pressure. Because already there are two pieces attacking g2 right now, the bishop and the knight. So let's see, bishop h7 check. King h8 is bad because I can just come back, check. If knight h3, that comes with check. So there is no queen h5 available. You see? Um, so what about rook coming to h7, knight g2, rook h8, king h8, queen h5, king g8, and queen h7 is made here. The point is to involve my queen with a check as soon as possible. So yeah, rook h7, you can eliminate the bishop, the knight on g5, but rook h8, check, king h8, and queen h5 does not work because of bishop h6. But then I can just capture on h6. On h6, that's bad, but it's a little, I mean, it's not that simple, right? Rook h7, because, I mean, bishop h7 is very strong, as in it's a move, it puts my opponent's king into check, so yeah, obviously he needs to respond. So king h8. Knight f7, rook f7, bishop g6, knight h3. Pawn h3, and then the problem is I don't just bring my queen actively into play. Uh, and what about knight f7? Hmm. Okay, you know what? Let's see. Is queen h5 working here? Queen h5, knight h5, bishop h7, king g8, rook h5. Let's say bishop g5, bishop check, king g8, and then I can get a draw. But that's not what the idea is here. Hmm. I think it's one of these moves. Bishop, one sec. I'll be back just in a moment, guys. Okay, so yeah, bishop h7 looks real good here. Yeah, but the problem is this rook on h3 is captured with check. Hmm. Let's see, bishop h7, king h8. Bishop g6, knight h3, check, pawn h3, pawn g6, and then there is no queen h5 also. Bishop h, you know what? Bishop h7, king h8, and then bishop f5, so that he cannot play f5 himself, knight h3 check, pawn h3, and then I'm not sure how they can defend queen h5. Okay, maybe they can play g6 there. Yeah, that is also a possibility, right? Hmm. Bishop h7, king h8, bishop f5, knight h3, pawn h3, g6. There's no queen h5 available there. Knight h7, knight h3, pawn captures, and then g6, maybe f5 could be also an idea there. Um, so maybe rook h7 takes. It's not possible, obviously. So yeah, but then I don't have bishop g5 is there. The problem is after rook h7, because his knight hasn't moved, queen h5 is not possible. Now the other idea is bishop h7, king h8, knight f7, check, rook f7, bishop g6, knight h3, pawn h3, and then I'm not sure how they can defend queen coming to h5, but then they have got rook f6. Queen h5 is met with rook coming to h6. No, but they can't because the bishop is on g6. So yeah, this is what I'm. Let's see if I can. Yeah, now knight f7, rook f7, bishop g6, check, knight h3, pawn h3, and how do they defend queen h5? Even if he manages to play king g8, queen h5 is still a threat. King f8 and queen h8 is mate. Yeah. So I think knight f7, rook f7, bishop g6, knight h3, pawn h3, and I just don't know how to do. Okay, can they somehow play knight f6 there? Yeah, that is. Oh wow, that is interesting. Bishop knight f7, rook f7, bishop g6, knight h3, pawn g3, and now knight f6. And there is no queen h5 available. Hmm, that is interesting. That's a nice defense. In fact, there is no queen g4. I do have queen f3 though, but then yeah, the bishop is there, so there is no queen f3 as well. Bishop g8. Let's bishop g8. The idea is same. Knight f3, pawn g3, knight f6. And bishop f5, knight h3, bishop h3. Also, at some point of time, knight e6 could be an idea. Let's knight f5. Sorry, bishop f5 check. Knight h3, pawn h3, knight f6 or g6. Both work here. Uh, oh, I think bishop f4 is better here. Bishop f4, pawn f4, and then I just play something like that because the rook cannot be captured. Yeah, awesome. Let's solve this puzzle. We're playing with white pieces, and we are in the end game. Okay, so he has got 5 pawns. I've got 5 pawns. So materially we are equal. However, I would say I have a slight advantage because of the fact that my opponent has double pawns on the b side, on the queen side. Also, I have this critical d4 square available. But after d4, he can go for he can go for f5. The knight sorry, king c5 is there, right? I think first move is pretty obvious, king d4, because if he goes for something like king d6, I can play f5, right? And then there is no way to go back to e6, right? And then I just march my way. Also, the pawn is falling on e4 after king d4. So after king d4, f5, and then c5. And this should be pretty simple, right? Because the idea is to capture this pawn, also enter b6, attack b7. Yeah. Hmm. Okay, that is interesting. And to be honest, I should have considered king f5 because he's now counter making ways for king g4, making some ways for the h pawn. Um, let's see, king c5, king g4. If I capture, king h4, king b6, king g4, king b7, h4, b6, h3, b7, h2, and I get queen, but so does he, right? Um, hmm, okay. So to be honest, I can't defend my opponent coming to g4. It's going to happen anyhow. The only point is instead of going for the queen side, can I just kind of wait and let's say king d5, king g4, king e4, king h4, and then king h3. If he plays king h3, sorry, king f3, if he plays king h3, that's not good. Um, because he's putting his king in a bad position. Okay. What about, can I push for a6? But it does not work. Takes. I think king d5 is what I can go for. If king g4, then king e4, king h4, king f3. Yeah, and then the king cannot go back to the f file or the g file. So king h3 and then e4, because I can make sure that this h pawn doesn't promote. If he comes to h2, king f2, yeah, and then I can just roll my e pawn. Yeah, that is a nice idea. Okay, let's see what's the right move here. Now, what's the problem with king d5? Let's see. Hi, Vinay, nice to have you on stream. And now I can come to f3. Oh yeah, he can himself, because if he plays h3, that should be good for white, I believe. Yeah, because now I can just roll down my e and f pawns. Anyhow, I move on to our next puzzle. So it's another endgame puzzle. We're playing with the black pieces. He has got 4 pawns. I have also got 4 pawns. But then again, my opponent has 4 pawn islands, and I have only 2 pawn islands. So I'm a little better here, I would say. But then he has got some space advantage. Also, he's threatening to come to e4 with his king, which can be a little dangerous in some positions. But then, yeah, obviously c4 pawn is hanging. Um, okay. Can I go for king b4? And then the idea is to just push my h pawn down the road. King b4, he cannot stop. I mean, he cannot defend the a pawn, right? So maybe king d4. If I capture, uh, it will take him some amount of time to get to one of my pawns. Let's say he manages to play king d5, a5, and I should be. I have to move my king, yeah, for sure. But king b4 looks good here, right? I don't have any other moves here, right? I mean, Playing g5 is foolish. h5. The problem is king e. Okay, wait. h5, king e4, king c4, king pawn f5. He can go for pawn f5, pawn f5, king f5, king b4. I think he'll be faster with his pawns. Let's see. h5. Similarly, if a5, you can go back to c3, right? Yeah. I think king b4 is essential. Oh, it's h5. I think I'm. It's time to call it a day. It's been okay. You know what? Let's solve this last puzzle for the stream, and then we'll call it a day. I still ended up where I had started. In fact, below that. Anyhow, let's solve this puzzle, and then we'll see how to go about this. We're playing with white pieces. I don't. I mean, I'm down by a rook. He has got 4 pawns. I've got 5 pawns. Knight g5, g6, e7, rook f8, e7, rook f8. I mean, what's the problem with d5, d6, something like that? d5, yeah, okay, maybe you can play king d, rook d6, but then e7. I mean, I don't want to play d5 because this allows his queen to have a good look at various squares. So maybe e7, rook e8, knight g5, g6. Hmm. Hmm. I mean, he's threatening queen b1 there. So why not create our own threats with e7, king e8, sorry, rook e8. Knight g5, g6. Um, I just don't know what's up. I mean, I can't see the follow-up. e7, king e8, rook e8, and then what? d5, queen b1, d6. He promotes his pawn. d7, queen e1, knight e1, queen e1 is there, and that's queen f1, and then he can manage, right? He has got 2 rooks against. Yeah, in fact, after queen e8, he has got e7 there. The other idea is I can play queen f5, rook f5, e7. Yeah, you can play rook b8. I promote rook e8, rook e8, check, But then he has got king f7 there. Oh, what? You know what? e7, rook e8, knight g5, g6 is there, right? There's no queen f5 available then. Ah, that's knight h7, king h7. Hmm. Queen f5, rook f5, e7, rook b8. I promote rook e8, rook e8, king f7. And then I don't have anything there. So queen f5 looks flashy but does not amount to much. e8, d5. And what if he promotes to a queen there? d6, take. Ah, I'm not sure if after. Oh yeah, if I play d5, he promotes to queen. d6, queen e8, knight e1 does not work because of queen f2 check, and then captures the rook as the knight on e1 as well. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Let's see. Knight g5, g6 is directly. e7, rook e8. Just don't see it. How should I go about this? Oh wait. Something is happening. e7, rook e8, queen c4, check, king h8. Oh wait. Let's see. e7, king. Sorry, wait. e7, king, rook e8, knight g5, g6, c4, check. Cannot come to g7 because of queen f7 check. Yeah, he can play king h6, but I can capture on e8. If he promotes, I should have king f6, queen f6. He can promote. I also get a queen there. Yeah, so that looks good. Knight e7 and knight g5 is what I'm thinking about. Knight g5. If let's see, knight g5, g6, queen g4 is not possible because of the pawn. So I think e7 followed by knight g5, or knight g5 and then e7. One of those moves should do the trick, but I think e7 is more powerful here. Yeah. Is it knight g5 first? And this? What's the difference between both of these moves? Let's see. E7. He just promotes, right? Oh yeah, and then I don't have any check available. Ah, that's awesome. Let's call it a day. I think it has been pretty eventful, I would say, although we ended up lower than what we had started with. Anyhow, if you liked what you saw, then you can give my channel a shot. I stream chess every weekend. That's Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes Friday as well. So yeah, see you in my next video. Till then, take care, tada, and goodbye.